hashtag online BFF, and I want to welcome you to my first episode of Coffee Talk. And today I want to talk about happiness. And if you follow me at all or know me at all, I do talk about this a lot because I fully believe that you need to choose to be happy. Yes, life will throw you some curveballs and take you down roads that you never thought you would have to go. But you deal with that and you still choose to be happy and be grateful for the things that you do have in your life that make you happy. And so today is going to be Arts and Crafts Day. No, I'm just kidding. Um, One of the reasons I said that was that I was tooling around the internet and I saw this great project that I thought would be fun to talk about, and it's called the Happiness Jar. And I actually am going to start one myself. This jar actually means there you go, something to me. My mom passed away several years ago, and one of the years that she was here, that was one of the gifts she gave to my family, was that huge jar filled with cashews, because we love cashews. And I always really liked the jar. I mean, it's plain, but I like the fact that it's square and it's just kind of a sleek design. And of course it means something because my mom gave it to me. And so the premise behind the happiness jar is you can take, for the guys out there, you don't have to find a jar. You can use a empty coffee can. You can use a Tupperware bowl. Anything that has a lid on it, and that you can put somewhere to remind you that it is your happiness jar. And for you guys out there that do like arts and crafts, you can decorate your jar. You can have your kids decorate your jar. Make it fun. And what you do with a happiness jar is, I always talk about at least 2 or 3 times a day. Just take a moment, breathe, and think about something that makes you happy. Or if something happens during the day that makes you happy, revel in it. I mean, really take in that moment. And so when things like that happen, when you're reminded of something that makes you happy, or this is your moment that you're going to think back to something that made you smile or made you happy, or something happens to you that just put a smile on your face, write it down on a little piece of paper. It doesn't have to be fancy. It can be notebook paper. It can be, for the girls out there, it can be pink paper with little hearts on it. It doesn't matter, but write down that moment and be kind of specific so that when you read it, it takes you back to that moment. Fold it up and then put it in your happiness jar. And some things are going to happen. First of all, when you see that jar fill up, it's going to remind you that you have a lot of happy moments in your life. The other thing is when life does throw you one of those curveballs, or that you're having a bad day, or you just happen to wake up in a bad mood, go to your happy jar, take out one of those pieces of paper, read it, and really remember that moment that made you smile or made you happy with every detail. Don't just kind of think about it and then put the piece of paper back. Really put yourself back in that moment, and you're going to find that it's going to lighten your mood. You're actually going to put yourself back into that mood that you were in when that certain thing made you happy. Now, you do need to be specific. Don't just write down my kids, because, kids always make us happy, especially as mom and dads and grandparents and aunts and uncles. Write down a specific thing that your child did that made you smile, or that, made you laugh, or, just made you happy in general. Not just the fact that they're your kids, because you really need to step into that moment for this to take effect. And so I want to put it out there that I am going to give out a small gift for those of you who will post a picture of your happiness jar along with a picture of one of the notes. It can be one that's not, I don't want you to lay out your life in front of Facebook or whatever, but a note that you're willing to share. Take a picture of that along with your happiness jar, and then I will choose a winner, and that person will get a small gift from me. And I will need your address because it's something that I will mail to you. So be willing to be able to share your physical address with me. And so along those lines, I want to talk a little bit more about happiness. I actually just saw a video from my friend Abram Gonzalez. I want to give a shout out to him. I love his videos. I love him and his partner Nikki. They just fill my life with smiles and laughs, and I always just feel good around them. They're just a great couple. And he had done a video about, he was out in his yard and he was going to weed. He wanted the yard to look really nice, obviously. You know, most people do, but he was going to do a video, so he wanted to make sure, you know, the weeds were kind of taken up so the yard looked nice at, you know, at the time of the video. And he was talking about how, you know, if you leave your garden or your yard and you kind of neglect it, those weeds are going to overgrow. And then when you go back to weed, it's going to be so hard. He talked about how, you know, he hadn't had time to get to the weeds, and, you know, so then when he went out to weed at a point earlier, the weeds were gigantic, and it took all of his, you know, strength to get them pulled out, and like wore them out, and took the whole day to practically do it. And that is the same thing with your mindset, and that's what he was talking about too, is that you need to always, that's why we talk about personal development. When you read books daily and listen to audios daily, you're basically weeding your brain of those negative thoughts and negative like self-talk where you're putting yourself down and kind of let life get in the way. And so that's what this happiness jar is going to help. You know, Earl Nightingale has a CD out. It was recorded a long time ago. I don't remember the year, but it was really a long time ago. And it's called The Greatest Secret or something like that. Anyway, it's by Earl Nightingale. And he talks about kind of the same thing with weeds. Your brain and your mindset are fertile ground. Whatever you plant is going to grow there. So if you ignore it, or you focus on weeds like negative thoughts and how crappy things can be, that's what's going to grow. But if you take care of it and you weed it and you put in happy thoughts or pretty flowers, that's what's going to grow. So that's kind of what the happiness jar is the premise of, is that it's going to weed out those negative thoughts or negative self-talk or kind of the crappy day you're having, and it's going to plant those seeds of happiness, and so that you're mindful of what you should be grateful for. So you know, grab your favorite jar, mason jar. It needs to be something a little bit bigger. You know, most mason jars are kind of small, but because you want this to be ongoing, and so, you know, something, well, you pick, but something that you can put little pieces of paper in, has a lid on it so the little pieces of paper aren't flying all over your house and then you're mad at me because your house has got little pieces of paper all over it. And write down at least 2 or 3 happy things that either happened to you that day, or you thought about, or you made a decision to think about. Write them down, put them in your jar, and then when you have that bad day, or some, you know, life throws you a curveball and something happens that you weren't really prepared for, take a deep breath and read a couple of those notes that you wrote to yourself, and you will see that life will start changing for you. So thank you for joining me on my first episode of Coffee Talk. I actually do have my coffee. I've got my iced mocha latte with me. I made it from home. It's in my little Starbucks plastic glass here. And I do have quickly a recipe for those of you who are calorie conscious but still want like a mocha latte that you can make at home. Cup of coffee, almond milk or coconut milk, or I buy the combination of the two that has almond milk and coconut milk in it. I buy the unsweetened. And then I add just a little bit of sugar-free Hershey syrup, or Actually, I buy the No Name brand. It's really good. And you just put like a squirt in there, and I put it in my bullet blender, or you can just stir it or put it in a regular blender and pour it over ice. It is delish. And so with that, I'm going to bid you adieu, and I will see you next time on Coffee Talk. Thanks for joining me.